Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another Video Creators Podcast episode. This is a special one. This is an additional one that we don't normally do with you guys, but I end up doing it a few times a year because throughout the process of being a YouTube educator, I get to meet lots of other amazing, fun, exciting people who are doing great things on YouTube to reach more people and change their lives. And I get to introduce them to you here once in a while. And that's what we're going to do today. I've got 6 friends hanging out with me, all of them YouTube creators. And we have actually been spending a lot of time together over the past 8 weeks in a process I call Video Labs, which is where we just dive into your channel and take you through this growth process. And the whole goal is to teach you how to think so that you can approach your channel and develop a strategy that not only works just for like the next few weeks or months, but sets you up for success on YouTube for years down the road as the platform continues to evolve and change. And so I have a lot of fun doing it, and I get to meet some really cool and exciting people while we're doing that. And they are here with me to kind of share with you. Here's one of the biggest things I've done on my channel that's led to the most growth. This is what I've seen that I've been doing that, like, when I figured this thing out, I had this big aha moment and like this turned this thing around. Or when I started doing this, or like I didn't even know this thing over here even existed, but that thing changed everything for me going forward. And a lot of them are creators in the same spot as you are. You know, they're trying to grow their channels. They're getting more views. They're seeing results now. They're seeing their channel get more traction on YouTube as not only as a result of this process, but also as a result of the community and the interaction that they've had with each other. And so they're here with you guys today to share with you their best top tip, idea, or piece of advice that they think you as a creator need to hear in order to start seeing some of the results on your channel that they're seeing on their channel. And so I'm really excited to introduce them to you here today. If you are in the live stream and you have questions for them about anything, it doesn't even have to be related to what they are, what they're talking about. Although, I mean, if it is, that would be great. But we want to spend time also diving into your questions, because here's the thing I don't usually tell you guys about why we're doing this. This is their test. They have gone through this 8-week process, and I've got the feedback a lot where people are like, Tim, this is great. I learned a lot. I'm seeing momentum, but how do I know I actually learned everything I needed to learn? I'm like, well, I could just put together a survey or an exam for you. But wouldn't it be more fun to do your exam live in front of other people? They're like, no, that does not sound fun. I'm like, yes, it does. Let's do it. So we want your questions, and we're going to be taking them. We're going to queue all them up, and then we're going to dive into them here at the end. And I want them to answer your questions because I want them, because I already know it, but I want them to prove to themselves that they have learned how to think about their channel, and that they now can take things they've never thought of before, questions and issues that are totally not related to things they've ever faced on their channel. But because of this process, they can figure out what the correct answer is and how to move forward based on this process that they've learned in Video Labs. And so they're going to take everything that they learned and they're going to help you guys out. And might throw in a few things as well, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they do this. So make sure you ask your questions. We'll do our best to stay on top of them and answer them all here. And if at any point you're like, hey, that person sounds amazing, I would love to hear more about that person or follow up on their channel, links to all their channels are in the show notes of this podcast episode. You can also find links to their channels in the description of this live stream. Or if you're watching the replay, you can find them down there. Go check out their channels, follow along with their growth stories, see how they move forward from this point on and how they start from this point to where they're going to grow. And it'll be a lot of fun for you guys to do that, but also get a lot of value now that they are upping their game and improving how they grow their channels and seeing more results. So links to all of them down in the description or the show notes below. With that said, let's dive into it. Beforehand, we did some paper, rock, scissors, and no, we didn't. Although that would have been a good idea. But Dan volunteered to go first. So Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your channel and what you do on YouTube, and tell us your tip.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. So everyone, I'm Dan Hines, and my channel is Adulting with Money, where I help millennial couples unite, not fight over their money, whether you want to crush debt faster, buy a house sooner, or you just want to be on the same page. And, I really started this business because my wife and I had some stuff to figure out, so I wanted to help others figure that out as well. But really, I mean, when it came to the big aha for me and what I've really learned over the last couple of weeks and is helping out is really focusing on retention and trying to get viewers to the end of the video. And really, what that does for me is it gives me kind of a holy grail to go after, is to say, if I can get people from the front of the video to the end of the video, I've been telling good stories. I've been delivering value. And that, you know, if I see a drop off, then I've done something that people don't like. And actually, the video I posted just last week, at the very end of the video, I have like a good 30 seconds and the retention graph is just flat. And so now I know, like, okay, that section of that video was a great story or a great part of the story. How can I recreate that? But along with the retention graph, it's also to say, well, if I see a big dip at the beginning, that means that my hook isn't very good. So maybe the story is great, but the hook is not. And to tell great stories and to keep people entertained means I have to know my target audience. I have to know what the pains they are going through, what stories they're wanting to hear, what stories are helping them over time. And so really it's helping drive me to be better as a storyteller, but also to be better just giving advice and providing value and listening to my audience as they're asking questions and watching my videos as I go.
So what was one of the main things that you found from when you, like before Video Labs, you were doing, how were you telling stories versus how you're telling stories now in a way that these people who are like, oh, that sounds great, how do I actually do that on my channel? What would you tell them?
Sure. So for me, I mean, unfortunately being in the finance space, I was really focusing on like tips, like 5 things to do this and 7 ways to do that. And what changed for me in just, you know, the last 2 weeks was the idea of mind mapping, which I know a lot of TED Talk people do this, where you have one idea and one big bubble, and then you have 3 sub ideas. And under those 3 sub ideas, you have 3 bullet points. And so what I've done is to really just take a main idea and chop it into 1, 2, and 3, and then what are a couple of points to that. And then when I press record, I just go. I'm not trying to take multiple takes. I'm not trying to record it multiple times. I have my little outline and I just start talking. And like I said, the last video I did, the retention graph looks great first, but second, I had friends and family and other people saying, this is my best video ever, because I focused on not just giving tips and trying to cram as much into one video as I could, but just said, hey, here's an idea. I'm going to explore it for a little bit. Here's a couple minutes. Here's what I've been through. And here are the stories that I've been through. And that's been working great.
So when you made that change, you started doing it differently. How did you feel about your channel? Were you like, because sometimes creators get so like, don't ever change anything, like, and they just kind of keep repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, which we all know what that is. But how did you go about that process of being like, you know what, I'm going to change this up and it's not going to be a big deal? And
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, how are you, the stress and anxiety that goes into changing things?
It kind of still was a big deal. You know, as they say, in order to grow, you have to get outside your comfort zone. So I really had to get outside my comfort zone. And I also looked at other YouTubers to see like, hey, you know, they're sitting at a desk, they're sitting at a table, and they're just talking to the camera, and they've got millions of subscribers. So why can't I just go ahead and sit at a table, sit at a desk, and just talk for a bit and see how it goes? So it was, at first, yes, there was definitely some anxiety and some nervousness to say, okay, well, I'm going to try something new. But it was second, other people were doing it, and third, deep inside of me, I know that in order to grow, I have to change and I have to try something new. And, you know, I recorded 3 videos that way. And if they tank, well, it was only 3 videos, and I'll move on and try something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good for you for doing it. Cause I have a friend who has been doing the same videos the same way for over a decade, almost daily content, and is up to like 10,000 subs or something, which is, you know, great. But for the amount of effort he's putting in, I'm like, dude, you should try something else. Not necessarily changing the value in the target audience, but changing how you deliver the value to the target audience in a way that they want to consume it. So good for you, Dan. Cool.
Thank you.
And if you guys want to check out his channel, link down below or in the show notes, you guys can check him out there. How about Michael? We'll put you up next. Tell us about you and your channel and what you're doing on YouTube.
Okay, well, first of all, narrowing down the one tip is going to be extremely challenging. But yeah, we are Grown Up Orlando, and we're a new channel because all the lessons I learned from Tim taught me to close my other channel,
Oh no,
which
I'm
was,
sorry.
but that's been so motivating and so very, very positive for us. One of the very important things is to have a trailer that's at the beginning of your, excuse me, that's there for your channel. And we always had a very hard time doing that because we didn't know what our message was. We really didn't know how can I put this into 30, 60 seconds, what we're doing. So that lack of focus for us was leading us down the path where we weren't getting views. With our new one, applying all that we've learned. Here, Tim, this is my one lesson, okay? This is what really helped us close the old channel and to open up the new one, was to narrow down the niche of the channel. We were trying to compete with channels that were millions of followers and trying to do the same thing they do and thinking, well, if it's successful for them, that means it's going to be great for me too. And it just didn't work out that way. And so by narrowing down our niche further, that is a little scary because you think, wow, I'm narrowing down the number of viewers that can possibly be interested. But yet with all the literally billions of people out there looking at YouTube videos, it doesn't matter how narrow your niche is, you can have a massive following by applying all the correct principles. So that for us was a very powerful thing to learn. And then if I can just put in a 1A, side one, and that is if the content does not keep the story or the goal of the video moving forward, edit it out. I came into this from a vlogger type background because that's what I learned. I watched all these videos that were on YouTube. I did everything I could to learn, but it was always about from the vlogging side. And you can't apply a vlog template to every subject out there. And that's what we were doing wrong, really. So by cutting out all the excess fat and just retaining the value that I present in the opening statements throughout the entire video, no matter what that length is, that's what's going to keep the viewer engaged and keep them there till the end. So I have my 1 and my 1A, but like, again, it was very hard to narrow it down.
Yeah. What would you say to a creator who would say, you know, that sounds great. My audience is already pretty specific. I'm trying to go after families, let's just say. What would you say to them? Like, what process or steps should they take in order to start making their target audience more specific and narrow?
Well, it's all
for you.
Yeah, it's all about finding the niche or the specialty or that topic that you can be so enthusiastic about. Like when I said earlier that we were chasing millions of followers like the other people have done, it didn't help us because it was too broad of a topic. So really, the other thing too that I applied here, and it's a lesson that we learned, was to remember that you're speaking to an audience of one. And so what are the needs of that person who's watching the video, and staying focused on that one person, not on 500 people who have different needs and different qualities. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. It's like what you're saying is it's not like a lot of creators think about reaching a mass audience, but the way you reach your mass audience is one at a time. And you will get way more traction making your content for one specific person than for this general idea of this conglomerate that is kind of ill-defined and doesn't really make anyone feel like, oh, this is for me, right? And the way you make them feel that is to actually make it for them. So yeah, it's getting down to that one person and to their story is very, very important. People in the chat are like, Greg's like, what's his channel? So I think they're looking at Michael here, but they're like, what's his channel down below? You want to tell us what it's called?
Grown Up Orlando? Grown Up Orlando is, we are showing you Orlando's best entertainment for adults. If you think about Orlando, Central Florida in general, you think about families and kids and everything else and going to the theme parks only with families with kids. And there's a huge market out there of people who come without the kids. So we are zoning in on that narrow market and appealing to those people with all of our content.
That's great. Sweet, man. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm really psyched. And here's my success story is our newest video that we just released is currently at 137% average viewer retention, which means that people are watching the video more than once. That's why you're more than 100%. So we've never had anything like that. And it was applying those principles of staying focused, getting the good hook at the beginning, and leave them wanting more.
Yeah. And it's not even a music video, is it? Because typically you'll see that on music videos, but
it's a top 5 attractions for the animal kingdom. And there's about a minute for each one. It's called the top 5 and 5. And that minute preview is just enough to tease you. And then boom, we move on to the next one. So it's just a go, go, go video. We're very excited.
Great. Good for you guys. Cool. I hope that becomes your #1 video on your channel. And then I hope the next one becomes your new #1 video.
That's right. Viral.
Keeps going. Sweet. Kyle, I'll put you up next, man. Tell us about yourself and your channel and what you're doing on YouTube.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim. My name is Kyle Wright. On my channel, Right Near Home, I am referred to as the Smart Home Butler, helping you build a smarter home, where we believe that we are going to help you go from I don't know where to start home to the smart home. So we really are looking forward to hanging out with you guys. And I think my biggest tip, the one thing that I learned here with Tim, is that there is so much, you need to focus on the benefit. Before I came into Tim's, Video Labs, I was so focused on, okay, this is how you do this with the Nest thermostat, or this is how you do this with the Google Assistant. But I wasn't focusing on the benefit for the viewer. That was really important to me. Like, I started to realize if I shift it from how to do A to this is how it benefits you, I actually gained more viewers. And I learned very quickly that we're not trying to sell somebody a drill bit. We're trying to sell them the hole in the wall. If you can tell somebody what the benefit is of the video they're going to watch, they're more likely to watch and they're going to stick around longer.
That's right. So what is the benefit? Like how would you do that on your channel with, like I see the Nest things right behind you and your brand new spanking awesome, amazing looking background.
Yeah. We just hit 500 subscribers today. So
woo, congrats.
Super excited.
Yeah.
Well, before it was always how to use a certain feature in the Nest app. Like for instance, one of my videos was how to set up activity zones on the Nest video doorbell. Well, I shifted that to the idea of what's the benefit of setting up the activity zones. Well, the activity zones give you notifications based on if somebody is working or walking in a certain area of the footage. So I would change the title to something like how to always know when somebody's on your porch, but not walking down the street. Really shifting that benefit. I had another video where I talked about the quiet time feature on the Nest doorbell. And I started out with just how to turn on quiet time. I ended up shifting that title to how to help your baby sleep longer for their nap. Because that's really the benefit of the quiet time feature.
Yeah, that's really good. I think so many creators get stuck in the optimizing for keywords thing instead of optimizing for people, for humans, that they kind of get stuck in the cramming all the right keywords and anything. And it's not bad to use keywords, obviously, because people expect to see words associated with different values. But what you're saying is focus on the person and the thing that they're going to get out of it. And then you're going to get the audience who never otherwise would have even known that. I don't even know what you're talking about, zones or something for like,
right.
That, like, I don't even know what that is, so, but if I knew a problem you're solving for me, I'd be more likely to click and watch.
Absolutely. And the thing for me is the kind of go back to the tags. I actually did a video not too long ago where I focused on the benefit for the viewer and actually completely forgot to put any tags or keywords in my video. And it became my second highest performing video on my YouTube channel. So, you know, not to say don't use tags, but definitely focus more on the people and the benefit, and you'll get more views and more eyes on your videos.
Yep. It's great. Cool, man. Well, thanks, Kyle, for sharing that. And if you guys want to see Kyle's channel, link to it down below. And you guys can go. I think you're at 500 subs. Did you break the 499?
I hit 500 subs about half an hour ago. So
all right, cool. All right,
I'm
sweet.
Moving on the ladder.
Yeah. And where were you when you started Video Labs, out of curiosity? Like eight weeks ago?
Just above 400. I think I had like 408. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I've really grown over the last 8 weeks, which has been great. And a lot of that has contributed to just shifting the focus of focusing on people. Really, that's, you know, where that's at. So.
And the great thing about momentum is once you get it, you can keep building it once you know how to build momentum. And so I'm looking forward to see where you're going with your channel in the future. It's gonna be exciting. Cool, man. Let's go to Bailey. Hi, Bailey. Tell us about your channel and what you're up to on YouTube.
I am the person behind the computer, not in front of the camera for our YouTube channel. I manage Boomer Benefits YouTube channel. It's where we are a Medicare brokerage that guides senior citizens through Medicare so that they can make smarter healthcare decisions. And we have been on our YouTube channel for just about active for almost 2 years. And since starting Video Labs, we have seen such a faster increase than we have in our entire time of being on YouTube. So it's been very beneficial. And I have so many tips, and Kyle took my favorite tip. Really do it. Change your titles to values, not descriptions of the video. Pose the value to the person, not just describing what the video is talking about. So to not repeat another tip, I will go to a different tip, and something that I didn't know about what you could do in analytics, and I am an analytic junkie, so I'm surprised I didn't know this, but there is a grouping feature in your YouTube analytics where you can group certain videos into one little bucket, and then you compare that bucket with another bucket to see what's working good in each of those videos. So to give you an example, one of my buckets, or one of my A/B tests, because that's how I'm using these grouping elements, is to A/B test our videos to figure out what's working and what's not, is I put all of our videos that had our green in screen in one bucket, and then our older in screen with a white background and different elements, I put those videos into another bucket, and then our newest in screen that has a blue background, and it's just, I feel it's way better than all of our old in screens. I put all those in a third bucket, and then I looked at all of the click-through rates on our in-screen elements on each one of those buckets to see if our newest in-screen that I personally like the best truly is outbeating all of our older in-screens. And so it's a really good way, if you don't want to pay for a service that A/B tests thumbnails or A/B tests anything else, you can use this grouping element to test what's working. So if you have a different type of intro for one of your videos, put all of those videos that you do that intro type in one bucket, and then all your old intro versions, put that in another bucket, and see which one has the best retention rate. So you can A/B test a lot of things with this grouping analytics feature.
It's great. So we got a good question in the chat for you. It's asked by Lady Luck HQ. Where is the group feature at? Tons of question marks. Do you happen to know off the top of your head?
Yeah, I don't have my computer in front of me, but if you go into your analytics and you press see more, you should be able to go up to the top left of your screen. It shows your YouTube channel, and then you can like search specific videos. Right there, you can create a group, and you can add as many videos into a group as you want. So like we added 15 videos into one group to test one specific thing. And then once you have your 2 groups or your 3 groups set, you can go into your compare option, which is in your top right corner of your analytics, and compare one group with one group side by side and see all the analytics down at the bottom.
Yeah. She says, OMG, thank you. So,
yay.
And Grant James, like, good suggestion. And Randy's Adventure, it's like, I like that A/B group testing idea. So,
yeah.
And Melissa,
it really does help.
We'll put Melissa up next. She's like, who wants to hire Bailey? But no, there's a lot of things you can do with that. I think it's one of the most underutilized tools in your analytics for just comparing this. Like, so you mentioned backgrounds. I noticed the same thing with different backgrounds for me, like the sterile black background did not perform nearly as well in terms of watch time as me sitting in a lawn chair in my backyard. Like that just worked better. And then when I was doing walk-in talks and hired a videographer, that worked even better. So you can A/B test that stuff with that. You guys can also use it for testing thumbnails, like one face versus two faces, or blue versus red, or I don't know, like you could test anything. The way you have your opening hook, positioning your branded intro as the very first thing someone sees versus something that happens 20 seconds later. So it's a really powerful tool to use. And so I'm glad that's been helpful for you guys. Has that led to any kind of insights or aha moments for you guys so far when you're using it, like principles that have been helpful?
Definitely. The one thing, the end screens, I have been able to see which end screens our demographic likes to click on the most. And so I've been able to edit our end screens based on this grouping feature. And then also our thumbnails, I'm in the middle of changing all of our thumbnails because I use this feature to test our old thumbnail, which was an outline of Danielle, who is the host on our channel. Outline on the thumbnail of just her. It's a professional photographer that took the photo, and it has the text. And then our new thumbnail is a natural photo of her filming the video, and it's just a snapshot of the video with some clip art and some text. So because of this grouping feature, I've been able to figure out that this new thumbnail is going to work better than this old thumbnail. So I definitely have been able to see some changes, and I've been able to implement them, and they've been accurate for what I've seen.
Good. Sweet. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
You guys who are in the chat asking lots of good questions. I've got them in front of me. We're going to go through as many of them as we can here in just a second, but I still want you to meet two more people first. Let's go to Melissa Goodwin next, since she was telling people that you need to hire Bailey. So
you need to hire Bailey. She's amazing.
Tell us about your channel, Melissa.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name's Melissa Goodwin. My channel is for women who really value their style and want to feel great in work and life. And I'll tell you, I started this channel by watching and listening in the kitchen to my two daughters watching YouTube Kids. And I would hear all these people reviewing and buying and taking their kids shopping to Target. And I was like, I can do that. And I would love doing that. Like that would make my life better. And I love fashion so much. If Zara could just drop clothing eventually at my doorstep so I could try it on for people, my life would be amazing. So about a year and a half ago, I started my channel, and I really just at the base level believe that what you wear can help you get anything you want in life. And so I film how-tos and try-ons, lifestyle, and reviews. And it's interesting because I came into video creators thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to expand my channel. I'm going to change the world. I'm going to do so many new things. I've been doing this for a year and a half. I'm in a bit of a rut. I'm ready to do something more. And I just feel like as YouTubers, probably for all of us watching, as well as for all those YouTubers we watch, it can be really easy to get into a rut. That's something that I found myself in. And it's not necessarily because you've niched down. And it's not necessarily because there's something wrong with us. And these are some of the lessons I've learned through this class. I think niche is super important. For me, I was in a rut and thought I had to expand my niche. I had to find a new level of creativity. But I think the real lesson for me is that if we're in a rut, or if we're feeling like we're not growing, it's not because of those things. It's just because we're not fully focused on deepening our connection with our audience. So I set out in the last probably 2 months to really figure this out. One thing we talk about deeply in this class has been, who is your audience and what's your value proposition? What are you saying and why does it matter? And it can be easy to just think, oh my God, there's so many different value propositions I can have. Which one is right? But at the end of the day, when you're waking up or going to bed, it is about what you're most passionate about, who you are and what you love, and how that connects to the audience that you really care about. And for me, it's been a real wonder for my connection with my audience, because in my real life, I began observing people on a day-to-day basis, from my hairstylist to like the woman checking me out at the checkout stand. And I've been starting to observe and study my audience at every dimension. And that has enabled me to sort of like obsess over them and think about, what does my audience really want? Why can't they have it? And how can I help them have that more? And for me, so going into this year thinking, I'm going to expand my channel, I'm actually leaving this class being like, I'm actually niching even more into my channel, because I haven't even scratched the surface of connection with the women who are so alive and are so active on my channel. And we haven't even dug into helping, like starting to help them. So it's been a real gift to just say, at the end of the day, I'm hitting go on my camera, and I'm filming this with the perspective of connection more than, oh, I hope this video blows up or whatever. I mean, the analytics and everything we've learned has been fascinating, but I think creatively, this is really what's going to serve me and my audience. So
I remember back in the beginning when this was like, you were starting to wrestle through this back in the beginning of Video Labs. This was something that you wrestled through a lot. Do you have, just real quickly, any advice or encouragement or whatever to give to someone who is, what they're listening to and they're like, yeah, but how? Or like, what do I actually do? Or what does that look like? And the emotions that you go through and everything, trying to come up to that. Do you got anything to say to that person who wants to do what you did?
yeah, interesting, Tim. The first thing I would say would be, it's easier than we think. So for me, I tried to get all fancy and complicated, but there's a lot of templates out there. First of all, just creating like a demographic or an avatar of who your audience is. I think that's great. At the same time, I think what you have to do is you have to go back to your original intention for starting a YouTube channel. And you have to say what lights you up and what gets you excited. And if you were to create 5 videos, how can all of those videos outperform from a connection standpoint that audience I just analyzed? How can I speak their language even more? Like one quick example is I started observing with some of my TJ Maxx and Nordstrom Rack how to shop videos, that people would start saying, oh my gosh, which one are you shopping at? I so hope we could go shopping together. So I started my last video simply saying, if you freaking see me in the store, you better freaking come say hi to me. And people like blew up. They're like, yes, but notice, like for me, I'm like, well, that's really what I would say to you if we knew each other as friends. So I'm just going to be more conversational about that. So find the connection points inside your comments and inside the content you normally make that helps them feel like you see me and we know each other. And I feel like the less you want to expand your content right now, the more you can just study your audience. Your content, eventually, they will tell you to expand your content. They will be asking the questions. I hope that answers a little bit.
No, yeah. And the better you make that connection, the more watch time you're getting, the more return viewers you're getting to watch your next video, and the more your channel grows. And it's not by trying to go after 1 million people all at once. Kind of like we said, it's going after one person at a time, making the connection, building the momentum that ultimately reaches your goal.
And I have to tell you this, Tim, the last 3 videos, which would be the last three weeks, I have gotten almost 3,000 new subscribers.
Per video or total? All of them?
Total. In the last 3 weeks, I've had almost 3,000 new subscribers. So thank you to you and your team and this team right here. Like, this stuff works. I just have to do a plug because it's work. This class is work, but it works.
Yeah. Well, you're right. That's the key. It's work, but it works, right? It's not a, and sometimes we do get people coming in like, hey, I heard it was going to be a magic pill. There's no magic pill. There's some guidance that point you in the right direction, but ultimately, if you want the results, it's, like we tell our kids here at our house, good work brings good reward. So good for you. Yeah. Cool. Let's, we're going to dive into your questions here in just 1 minute. You guys got tons of good ones, but I want to introduce you guys to Dean. Dean, tell us about your channel and what you're doing on YouTube.
Hey, Tim. My name's Dean Legge. I cover a football team, a college football team. That's what I do for a living. And a lot of what we've been using YouTube for on our end is to get videos out that we couldn't easily get out other ways. What I've learned here in the last, I mean, Tim doesn't necessarily want us to tell what we've, this is not a pitch for what he's done, but this is what I've learned is how important so many little things are, and they all add up to having success. I would argue maybe not 3,000 in 3 weeks like Melissa just talked about, but certainly success in terms of retention rate, which is one of the things I focused on the most. I thought we were doing pretty well with that, but I think that what I've learned more than anything is what my weaknesses are, and how to address them. Specifically, hooks, retention, and getting folks to the end screen. Marketing is also a problem for me. I have all sorts of problems, but
we all do.
well, but we all now have tools to deal with them, and that's kind of the difference. Other than just sort of surfing around the internet looking for solutions, we went through something that challenged us not just to find them, but to sort of perfect them, I guess you could say. I've really been satisfied and pleased with what I've learned over time, and every time we get done with our weekly meeting, every time we've gotten done, I feel equal parts motivated and not overwhelmed, but like, how can I do all this at once? And the answer is you can't. You have to slowly do it, which is frustrating for me as an impatient person. So the biggest thing I think that I've learned is how critical hooks are, because if you don't have them in minute 2, you're not going to have them in minute 4. So that's why hooks are critical, and that's what I learned the most, frankly.
So how does that work on your channel? You're covering Georgia Bulldogs. What are your hooks look like now compared to what they used to? What are you doing differently?
So I've been in the media for 20 years, and the way that we typically conduct ourselves is not the same way you would conduct yourself on YouTube. I think you have to understand that you're on YouTube and you're not in front of a television camera, and so the audience is broader, but it's also not as rigid. So you don't have to be stiff, etc. You can be yourself more. I mean, I love that Kyle has an orange tuxedo shirt. That's awesome. I mean, I'm serious. It's a great branding and marketing play. And I think that we all have to understand, and one way to grow YouTube is authenticity. I don't have a problem with that in my life, in my world, but I need to even be more authentic in YouTube every single day, because people want to know you and they want to get the value. And both, if you can combine those things, there's really no reason you can't grow dramatically.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dial Home Text asking, can you expand on the hooks? I think maybe that's what we're doing now, which is just like, how do you capture that attention? And you're right, like television is a different medium. It's like you turn it on and the video is already playing for you. But in YouTube, people are going to click and decide whether or not they want to watch something. So that title, thumbnail, opening hook plays a very significant role in how do you get someone to keep watching, so you get the watch time that you need and grow the channel. So cool. Thank you, man. Mike, the horror geeks in the chat, he said, congrats, Video Labs grads. If you do the work, this stuff will change your channel for sure. And Mike can say that because I think, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like every week or so, he's sending me new screenshots from his analytics. And he went through Video Labs last year, I think it was. Yeah. And he keeps sending me, it was great to see like how much growth momentum he's gotten. So that's our goal, is to set you guys up with the process that you're going to now execute, not just for a few weeks and like, okay, I learned something, but this is the thing you're going to keep doing on your channel and see the results that Melissa and Bailey and Mike and all of you guys are seeing with your channel. So that's exciting. This is when we get to answer your questions, guys. And we've got a lot of good ones here lined up. Okay. So we're going to start with Historian Wannabe first, who's a new member of the channel. Welcome, Historian Wannabe. Says, question, I have an old channel I am considering as a second channel since it's easier content with 350,000 views. Can I revitalize an abandoned channel that still gets some views? What would you guys recommend? Revitalize the channel that has 350K views, or should this person just start a new second channel, or does it not matter? Go.
Well, I think my first question would be, is this channel going to be a completely different niche, a completely different topic of videos, or is it going to be the same thing? Because if it's going to be the same thing, just slightly different, I say revitalize that channel. You already have some growth, and you can always revitalize old videos. You can always get them back in front of everybody. So it's content to build upon rather than starting fresh. And because that can be, in my experience, it can be hard to just wait and watch brand new videos get traction. Whereas these old videos that already have traction, you can just kind of tweak a little bit more and get them in front of new people and grow upon that. So I would say keep that channel, but we'll see what some other people say.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I'd have to agree with Bailey on that. Like if it's within the same niche or it's very similar, I would definitely try to like revive the channel. But if you're like me and you're doing like a smart home tech video and then you decide you're going to start repairing cars, like you're not going to relate to the people that are already subscribed to your channel. So you're more likely going to have better success if you go ahead and just start a new channel at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it could depend really. I mean, why is that old channel still getting views? Because there's some sort of target audience that YouTube is saying, okay, these videos are great for these people, so we're going to keep putting them in front of them. And if you take that channel and start adding different content, and YouTube's got to switch and try to find a new audience, then that old channel isn't going to be as powerful as it used to be, because now you've completely switched gears. So it depends really also on the target audience, as Bailey and Kyle have already kind of suggested, is to say, well, who are you going after and how are you helping them? And is it going to be the same value you're delivering as what those old videos are doing right now?
Yep. So I think what we're saying is you go either way. Not really a big deal, but if it were us, we would probably just keep it if we're going to keep doing something similar. If we're going to do something completely different, then you might as well start a new channel. Not a big deal. So cool. How about Amazing Drone Show asks, any tips on starting out streaming content other than gameplay? And I pulled this one out because we actually didn't talk much about streaming in Video Labs. So I'm throwing this out there. See what you guys think. What did you guys say?
Well, I'm actually going to be doing my first stream here later in the month on March 24th. And I have a smart home channel. So obviously I'm not going to be playing video games. But for this first stream, I'm going to be sitting down and actually writing a home automation with people for a project that I've been doing here in my house. So, you know, if you can make a live stream relatable to the content that you're already making for your channel, I say go for it.
I've had tremendous success with live streams, particularly when the target audience is very interested, like 15,000 that day views. So if you're delivering value for them and it's live, they'll be all over it. It's not the easiest thing on earth to do, but people love it if you can pull it off.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't started live streaming yet, but when I do, I'm going to use Tim and his channel, Video Labs here, or Video Creators, as an example, because, you know, you go live, you have a topic to talk about, and then you do Q&A. And the great thing about doing live Q&A is that it shows that you really are an expert. You're not hiding behind a script. You're not hiding behind a camera. You actually know what you're talking about. And building credibility and building that trust and respect is going to go a lot farther. And people are going to want to keep watching your videos because they know you're the real deal. So going live, having a Q&A part of it is going to be huge.
Great.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we haven't started live streaming on YouTube, but we do live streaming every week in our Facebook group. And like Dan said, it really does add some community to your channel, because Danielle is full on the expert, and they know that because they get their answers perfect. It's like they almost know a celebrity type thing. Like you're getting to talk to someone on YouTube. Like, so it really does add the sense of community to your channel, which I think every channel could grow.
I think that's my favorite part, is that I get to connect with people through live streaming in more intimate ways. Like I get to answer questions, and I get to see Historian Wannabe and Miggy Wiggy every week. And like you kind of get to know these people, and it becomes fun relationally. So I think it's a really good community play for sure. Anthony Reed asks, if you have a channel doing very long content, like 8-hour videos, wow, and you have an average view duration on the channel of over an hour, and they watch the 8-hour videos 20%. Is that good or bad? What would you recommend for that person?
Well, the goal for the end of your video retention rate is 50% or higher. So if the end of your video is 20% or lower, I would say it's not up to the goal, but it's still not, it may not be bad. I think someone watching an hour-long video on YouTube is impressive because I don't do that. But I guess it also depends on the type of content, but I'm going to let other people chime in because I'm kind of at a loss.
I don't do anything for 8 hours beyond sleeping, and I would tell you to cut it at 1 hour. I bet you right now that you're getting some substantial video watch time, but an hour is a long, long, long time on YouTube. I mean, a tremendously long time on YouTube. That's pretty successful. I would shorten it up and see how much more successful you can be, because like Bailey was saying, if you're getting your percentage higher to the end, YouTube is going to go bonkers with that. They'll love it.
My guess is that it's probably music videos or something. That's typically when you have that type of 8-hour videos. It's like meditation music for your entire day. You just kind of put it on and play it in the background, which is why they would get. I don't know. I haven't checked that, but that's typically when people say that. That's typically the type of content it is. So yeah, I don't think it's good or bad. It's just kind of like it is what it is, and you could experiment with shorter. You could experiment a lot with playlists as well, and other things. So it's just kind of, yeah. Anyone else anything to put on that one before I move on?
Tim, can they also look at their stats for their individual videos to see when the people are actually dropping off? Yes, we know it's an hour out of 8 hours, but can they see is there an average time that people are starting to say, okay, enough of this and moving on? Yes, you've got 20%, but where's the other 80%? When are they dropping off? And I think that would be very, very beneficial to know the answers to that.
Yeah, that's great. We've got a question from Cooking with Chef Fred. I have a cooking channel. How do I tell a story about sharing a recipe? And I think this came in, Dan, when you were talking about your story stuff. Hey, I just want to teach people how to cook a thing. How do I make that into a story?
Sure, that's a good question, and that's still something I'm trying to deal with when it comes to finances. And really, it can be a story about yourself. I think Dean mentioned in the chat, it can be a story about the recipe itself. Because in the end, when it comes to great food, sometimes people don't want just the food. They want an experience to go with it. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've been down to Disney World. I've bought that $200 lightsaber. But along with that is that it's an experience. And I have a memory that I can cherish for the rest of my life. And I have a story to tell with it. So it's not just buying the thing, it's what comes along with it. So when you start to think about a recipe, like, is this recipe great for a group of people? Is it great when you're in a hurry? Is it great for a particular holiday? So then dig a little bit deeper about why would you make this recipe, and when would it be amazing to make, and when have you made it where it went gangbusters?
Sell the sizzle, don't just sell the steak.
Yeah. And we've had entire conversations about that lightsaber too in Video Labs. I remember that. Oh, that was fun. Yeah. Anyone else have anything they want to add about telling a story about something that's just kind of seems like a mundane step 1, step 2 type of thing?
I think Dan hit it right on the head. I like just if it's a recipe you learned from a family member, you can talk about that. Or if you have been making this recipe all your life, you can talk about when you made it for people and they just all loved it. I think just selling why they should want to make this recipe in particular, I think is a good avenue to take.
And I guess, I was going to say, just if you can also go to other cooking channels and watch their videos and the recipes that they tell, but then the stories that they tell along with it to get an idea like, oh, okay, here's how they have a story along with this cooking recipe and how to cook it.
One thing that also really helps is just knowing your audience's story. so that you are so like they are a character who wants something, they're facing conflict, which is how do I make this thing? And so sometimes the story you're telling, it could be and should be your story, but sometimes it's also like, hey, you're a busy mom, you only got a half hour to make something, you want to make it healthy before your kids get home from school. Here's something, like you just kind of tease that story a little bit. Here's what you do. And so going back to Kyle's point about pitching the value or the reward or the benefit, not just here's how you assemble these ingredients, but this is the benefit that comes from this. And here's the story that you're facing as the character of your story. And now our videos now becomes the guide in that person's story. Sweet. How about Honeyvale Great Danes says, besides Facebook and Reddit, where is a good place to promote our channels? So when you guys think about promoting your channels, what do you think of? Dan's laughing.
Well, I was laughing because I'm still thinking the same thing. I was actually journaling about it last night and this morning. And one thing I'm going to try next are YouTube collaborations, because, you know, you think about the podcasting world, people who listen to podcasts want to listen to more podcasts. And so if you are a guest on other people's podcasts, then you get subscribers to your podcast. And I'm hoping, and I believe that the same thing is true then for YouTube, is that if you collaborate or you're working with another YouTube channel, well, they already have the app open. It's really easy to go to your channel, hit subscribe, or to start watching. So that's definitely one thing I'm going to do, especially in the personal finance space, is to start doing collaborations.
I think also just thinking, where is your audience? Where's your target audience? Is it millennials? Then Instagram. You should be on Instagram. But also something that I learned from one of the Video Labs instructors is that don't try to put all your eggs in too many baskets, because then it just gets harder. You don't want to do multiple social medias or multiple channels. Okay, you want to do a few channels really well. So don't be on Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, Tumblr, YouTube. Don't be on all these places if you can't commit enough time to them. So like for us, Instagram's not a huge platform for our target audience, but we're still there. It just takes up, we don't put as much time and effort into it. We put most of our effort into YouTube and Facebook. So just wherever your audience is.
I'd have to agree with that. Like, don't spread yourself too thin. I think when I first started, I was trying to do Reddit and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all these other platforms. And before I knew it, I got lost and didn't know what I was doing. And so I ended up dropping Instagram, went over to Facebook, found a couple of Facebook groups that are focused around smart home technology, because that's kind of where my people tend to hang out. But I also agree with Dan. I've done a couple of YouTube collaborations, and back when my channel, had less than 100 subscribers, I, gained 100 subscribers in one day just from doing a video with a fellow smart home, YouTuber. Find somebody that's within your niche or at least related, or you have a similar target audience, and go that route.
I think what you guys are saying, which is exactly what I was thinking, is that you can spend a lot of time trying to grow your channel on Reddit and Facebook, but it is far more efficient and a lot more fruitful to grow your channel on YouTube. Like reach out to, whether it's collaborations or making more effort to create content that would be positioned on the homepage and suggested or search or something. Like there are billions of people on the platform every month. And so until you've exhausted that audience, it is way easier to grow by hitting the homepage than it is by trying to go big on Reddit or something like that.
And I 100% agree with that, because you'll find very quickly that if you're promoting yourself on other platforms, like not everybody on Facebook uses YouTube, but guess what? Everybody on YouTube uses YouTube. So, go where the people already are. If you've got people on YouTube within your niche, target them. Just go after it.
Boom. Big fist bump on that one. Coco's Tube. I have a question. So at some point I've been growing subs 2,000 a month now. It has been slowing down to 600 a month. Help. You guys got any advice for someone whose growth is slowed down? What would you do to maybe turn the curb on that?
Go ahead, Melissa.
Thanks. Yeah, I would say I've had this problem too. And again, I had to reevaluate my content. So maybe try to make a fresh new video on a topic that performed really well on your channel already. Take a different take on it, a different perspective. I'm not sure what you do, Coco's too, but I have a feeling that people maybe just want to hear from you in what they know your niche is. Perhaps you haven't been consistent with your posting. So look at your posting as well. How often are you posting a video? If you are consistent with your posting, I would say go to content and work on your connection. People maybe just need to hear from you and what they know and love hearing from you on. And YouTube needs to hear from you on that content too, because the algorithm obviously is working for you with some of these videos. So try testing some of the content that's performed really well for you in the past.
I think something I would add is focus more on your views, not so much how many subscribers you have, because YouTube has gotten so good at, showing you things that you want to watch on your home page, on your suggested videos, that really a lot of people don't feel like they need to subscribe anymore. Because if they start watching enough videos from a particular creator, YouTube's going to pick up on that and they're just going to start showing you videos. I honestly don't remember the last time that I went into my subscriptions tab on YouTube. It's almost always homepage or suggested video. So I would say focus more on the views and not so much the subscribers.
Yeah. Great. Love it. To Dial Home Tech asks, how do you deepen that audience connection? And I think that's when you were talking, Melissa, was like, you talk about the connection to audience, but then anyone who has input on that, how do you practically, what do you do to deepen that connection?
Yeah, I would say get into your comments and start asking questions. Try to start a conversation. So when someone asks a question, try to dig a little bit deeper. But also, if you know your target audience and you know what they're like, go to Facebook groups and just hang out there, see what people are asking and have conversations. Because you'll never know kind of what people are feeling, what questions they're asking. And that information you can help to use to then make more videos on your channel. So it's kind of two ways. One, actually making that connection with talking with them, doing live streams, but also just finding out what topics to talk about and what people in your target audience are asking.
And growing our connection has been something that we are planning on really trying to dive into. We're trying to get more of that conversational tone in our videos rather than just teaching. And something that we're going to try to do is kind of shout out a frequent commenter. So we have some people who are always watching our videos and always commenting on our videos. So we're going to be like, well, Peter, for instance, he asked us last week, how do you enroll in Medicare, whatever question it is. And so I feel like, and then just have a personal conversation with that commenter. And then other people are going to want you to have that personal conversation too. Because one, again, they get that aspect, oh, he's talking to me. But also just like, it shows that you're really looking at those comments. It shows that you really care about your viewers. And so that's something that we plan on trying. So maybe you can try that too.
Well, I think for like smaller channels, something I'm going to try is towards the end of my video, just asking people, hey, what is currently your #1 smart home challenge? Let me know in the comments below. And that really encourages people to be like, oh, wow, like he really cares about me. There's a personal connection here. And then kind of like Bailey was saying, you can take those, questions that you're getting and highlight the comments and really dig into that deeper, which I think is very beneficial for creating connections with your audience.
Yeah. And when we talked a lot about primal branding as well as a way that you can do things like telling your backstory, sharing your belief, having sacred words and rituals and things that make it easier for people to engage and form that emotional connection with your brand as well. But I like what Melissa said, which is that she's like, hey, if you see me, you better darn come talk to me. It was like, I just expressing that I'm interested in you and I want to see you. And honestly, that's like 90% of the reason why I go to YouTube events and conferences and stuff is not to just kind of sleep in my hotel room and take a break from our 7 kids, but which is not at all true. It is 90% to go and meet people, shake hands, and get to know those of you guys who have been listening for a long time and hear your stories. And so that connection, I think if you're like Melissa and you just actually crave that and you desire that and you make that a part of your content, then people, they sense that and they're like, I just feel like you actually care about me and not just about your audience as a whole. And I think that makes a big difference. So I think that's not surprising, Melissa, you got the response that you did when you do that. So it's great. If any of you guys are listening to this, you're like, hey, I would love to go through that process and learn more about Video Labs. Well, you're in luck because guess what? I put a link in the show notes for you as well. So as of this recording, registration is not open. It will be open actually next week for our spring session of Video Labs. And so if you want to get on that waiting list and be the first to be notified, you can use that link and sign up. We do limit it only to 20 creators per group so that we can be as hands-on with you as possible in a group, as hands-on as you can be in a group setting. But we try to get to know each one of you personally and work with you and your channel through the process. So we do limit it to only 20 people per group, and they always sell out. Like every single one so far is sold out for like the past 5 years. So we let the waiting list know about it first, and before we kind of let the general audience know that registration is open. So if that's you, make sure you click that link, sign up, give us your email, and we will send you an email next week when registration opens, and you can check it out, see if it's right for you or not, and make that decision whether or not you have the time to give to all the work that it's going to entail, which is, how much work would you guys say? On average per week, how much work, if you want to actually get results, not just learn information, but you want to get results, how much work per week would you say on average it takes?
It's not an insignificant amount of time. I mean,
Right.
it's certainly something. And well, I don't know how much of it is work, but I feel like I've thought about it more now than I ever have before. So I don't know if that's work, but it's time consuming in my brain.
I think that we somewhat agreed in our class that it was anywhere from 5 to 7 hours weekly, if we were going to measure it, which was when you look at how much time you might be wasting in putting your channel together using the wrong themes. That's a great 5 to 7 hours spent.
Yeah.
It's a minor investment compared to what you get back.
Right. So if you have around 5 to 7 hours, this is for you per week to give to it, and you want to get results, we would love to work with you. So check it out, link down below. And also remember, for those of you guys maybe who jumped in the live stream later, there's a link to all of their YouTube channels down in the show notes and the description. You guys can check them out and subscribe and watch their journey as they continue to grow from here. So thank you, each of you guys here, for being a part of Video Labs with me for the past 8 weeks. This is kind of wrapping up our time together. So it's sad, which is why I'm dragging this on longer than I usually do, because I don't want to wrap it up. But also all of you guys who are here and you are growing your channels, and I hope you got a lot of good value out of this. And we're looking forward to hopefully seeing you in Video Labs coming up here. Registration opens in about a week, and we'd love to work with you guys there. So thanks for hanging out, and we will see you guys again next week for another Video Creators Podcast episode. See you guys then.